Hi, good morning. I'm sorry it's so dark, but we're going to do our best to get this general message out for the Aquarius Pisces collective. So, general guidance for whenever you find this message for Aquarius and Pisces of all placements. If you have prominent 11th and 12th house placements in your chart, this message could be for you as well. So, let's go ahead and get into your energy. Aquafish, what is it that you need to know at this time, please? I'm picking up something about employment. We have sacred cycles. Let go of the old. Honor the cycle you're in, and what goes around comes around. So the reason that I'm saying this is because when I grabbed these decks this morning, this one came with it, and I didn't mean to bring this one, but it says employment, and this is from my karma deck. And so I was feeling really strongly that Spirit wanted us to know something about I guess karmic retribution, because this very first card that came out says what goes around comes around. So I guess this could be positive karma or this could be negative karma, depending on what side of the wheel this energy is falling on. So we have the T, gossip is on the bottom of the deck. I feel like you could be dealing with workplace gossip. You could be dealing with, I heard rejection. So you could be dealing with feeling like you're outcast from your peer group in some way. And it's not to say that we're there to make friends when we're there to work, but at the same time, if you're constantly feeling like an outsider, if you're constantly being made to feel like you are not a part of the team, this can really have detriment to somebody's self-esteem, okay, over long periods of time. So that's something that Spirit is wanting to come in and validate for us today, that you're not strange. I heard a freak. You're not a freak for feeling some type of way about the situation. Spirit is saying, I would be emotional too. So, thank you, Spirit. That was really nice that they came through with that. Okay, so we have healing heart is also here. Hold on a second. I gotta fix the lighting because we can't see. There we go. That's a little bit better. So we have healing heart, opening your heart, healing old emotional pain, and preparing for new love. So I'm feeling like we're figuring out exactly how the light and the shadows balance each other out. We're figuring out, a lot of the heavy shadow work that we've been putting in. We've been putting the labor in on is going to be paying off in this next season. You are starting to heal certain cycles that we're playing on repeat. That was energy that was coming through yesterday for us too. We have collector of hearts, and twin flame is also here. Yes, they are your twin flame, yin and yang, life forever changed, heartbreakers, many love interests, not ready to settle down. So I feel like this is talking about you have met a soul partner, someone who is your match here, but sometimes they're only meant to come into our life for a short period of time. Of course, I'm hearing that song where she says something about collecting hearts in a jar with this collector of hearts here. It says heartbreaker, many love interests, and not ready to settle down. With this twin flame card, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't believe in twin flames. I don't. It's an unpopular opinion, I know. But I believe that we have many soul mates. And I don't believe that if our soul is fragmented in a way that, we come from one oversoul, if that is true, I don't believe that there's only like one half of our soul out there. I feel like we have so many potential soulmates that come and go and weave in and out of our story that I have a hard time understanding. And I think it has a lot to do with it being over commercialized too. But you could be somebody that resonates with twin flame energy. But what this is telling me, usually when I see this card, it could be you transforming night and day. It could be connections are starting to see this transformation take place. But what I'm feeling with this card intuitively is that this is soulmate energy. And we have to remember, I think sometimes we get caught up on the idea that there's only one soulmate out there for us. And although that could be true for certain situations and periods of our life, I feel like Spirit is wanting to remind us that if you are healing from a soulmate connection, that I'm not going to lie, it feels a little bit narcissistic in nature with this Collector of Hearts. I feel like you are in this period of recuperating, is what I'm hearing. You're in this period of isolation, is something else that I heard. You're in this period of resting. And when you're integrating past memories and you're laying these energies to rest, as you're coming to conclusions that certain things that were cast onto you are not actually true. Like if you take, for example, the workplace dynamic, and say these soulmates, these connections were meant to help you in some way. They were meant to collaborate with you, to be team players, to help boost you up in those weakest moments where you were healing through something heavy, right? But they chose to humble you instead. They chose to turn and act like they couldn't see the beauty here. There's a quote that, who is it by? I want to say it's by somebody named Melody Lee, but I honestly don't know. But it says something like, how could you compare her to roses and sunshine when she's actually moonlight and lilies? And I probably just butchered that and made up my own quote right now, but it's something like that. I feel like if you're twirling a certain way and people are trying to cast this illusion onto you that you're different or that you are of the dark, or on the contrary, you could be over here on the sunshine side and people are looking at you like, oh, she doesn't know shadow work. This person doesn't know heavy trauma. This person doesn't know the obstacles that others have had to overcome. Whatever your story is, people are casting this illusion onto you when really you are two halves of a whole. You are able to make up and embrace two very different aspects of the same soul, of the same person here. I hope that that's making sense. Okay, I have this other deck in my hand, so let's get some clarity. Can I get some clarification, please, on sacred cycles? I just want to mention too, before we move on the top of this deck, or the bottom of the deck, is trick or treat. It says playing games, not serious, and unsure of their intentions. And I feel like you could be in a lot of situations socially where you're just not sure if people are sending you a compliment or insulting you. It's like that backhanded energy. I'm hearing compliment sandwich, and so that's a tactic that we used to use in corporate where the management would manipulate the staff so that they could criticize them in some way because they had to. I mean, that's part of being a manager, right? Is critiquing and supporting your team when that needs to take place. It's kind of like a parent that's not able to discipline their child if there's not that balance, right? But a compliment sandwich is where they give you a compliment, feedback, and then compliment. And if misused, if it falls into the wrong type of personality, right? I'm trying to refrain. We have snake came out. I'm trying to refrain from calling people narcissistic, but I feel like you could resonate with that energy. You may feel that energy around you. We have snake energetic movements, and that came out with sacred cycles. So this is a period meant to transform you, and it's also meant to influence transformation in other people. And so if you walked into an employment situation, for example, where you were meant to kind of test the integrity and character on some spiritual lessons or repeated cycles for these people, you could have very well been the opportunity that walked into their life as an answer to their prayer, but in a form that they didn't understand. There was this obstacle that they had to overcome. There was a shadow aspect within themselves that they had to lay to rest in order to receive that blessing. And so a lot of people weren't able to rise to the occasion, is what Spirit's saying. They may have, with the snake energy, I know snakes don't have to necessarily represent bad energy, but for me, whenever they show up, it's malicious, manipulative, underhanded, bullying, diminishing energy. And I feel like with sacred cycles, this could be something that you're learning to overcome. With healing heart, it's something that you're really starting to heal through. You're starting to find closure and acceptance for certain connections and you're finding out that it's not anything that you need to take personally. It's not reflective of your work, of your merit, or your ability here. I feel like Spirit is really wanting to congratulate you on your competency. Is that the word? Where you're able to be efficient and professional in your field. And if other people weren't able to give you that recognition, Spirit is wanting for you to know it wasn't meant to be that way. A lot of people failed a very important test. A lot of people did not rise to restore balance in the situation, and there is going to be an energetic repercussion for that, is what Spirit is saying. We have healing heart. Can I get clarity on the healing heart? Thank you. Okay, so what came out is ocean, and it says release. So you're releasing this, you're healing this. There's an emotional purging that's happening right now from whatever this energy that you felt snaked here. It could have been a situation that you walked into thinking it was going to be a treat, but it really turned out to be a trick. Can I get clarity on this trick or treat energy, please? Ooh, that card flew out. It says moon influence. And it flew out almost like, you can't see on the camera, but it was like an arch. It was like, whoo, like the perfect arch. And it felt significant. I don't know what it means. Moon influence. And then there's a tree falling. Influence, trick or treat. This could be spiritual influence. This could be an energetic disruption is what I'm hearing. Somebody disrupted the energetic flow here. That's what the snake is. You know what I'm picking up on right now? We have sunflower came out. It says admiration. And you guys also had a sunflower here too. Okay, so I don't really know what this means, but I had come across this movie on TikTok, and have you guys ever watched like a movie through TikTok and you just watch it in pieces as people like post spoilers or whatever, and like you feel like you've watched the whole movie because you listen to people talk about it? Is that just me? Is that just me? Okay, so I watched this movie on TikTok in pieces, and it's called As Above, So Below. And the reason that I watched it in pieces and instead of just watching it is because I don't really watch scary movies anymore because I'm just too sensitive. But it really captivated me. It really caught my attention. And it wasn't until a couple days later that I realized that Spirit had me watching that as a spiritual download. So this movie takes place in the catacombs underneath Paris. And this group of people go down there and they start seeing honestly all kinds of frightening things, but they come to this doorway and it's represented as the doorway to hell, and they have to crawl on their bellies like a serpent to get through this doorway into the other side. And it's like a parallel reality of their existence but on the other side, and it's basically people they know, memories they have that have haunted them, basically are coming through to be acknowledged and laid to rest at this time so that they can get back to that alternate reality, which they consider, I mean, depending on how you look at it, below could be the underworld and above would be their reality. And on the contrary, it could be that the reality is the below and then the spiritual world is above us, right? Depending on how you look at it. And so it seemed that the key to the people that survived and the people that didn't, it laid with forgiveness. The people that were able to take accountability and lay that situation to rest, apologize, understand that their role and their part in it was what freed them to move on into, you know, getting back to where they needed to be. And there was a saying above the doorway, the gate to hell. And it said something like, all who enter here must leave their hope, or something like that. I'll post it for you guys. But I just feel like there's something here about exploring the energy of hell on earth, the frequency of suffering and hell on earth. But energetically, we're able to get through this doorway into what could be considered heaven on earth, right? And so I feel like this is the cycles that you've been navigating. And there are times when you're doing your shadow work, and there are times where there's circumstances around us that are outside of our control. The song that I'm hearing for you guys is by, I think it's Soja, S-O-J-A, and it's called Things You Can't Control. So you guys can go ahead and listen to that. And it actually has the symbolism of this flower in that. So it could be a dandelion that I'm thinking of, but regardless, this yellow flower is there, and Spirit is trying to get our attention that there are certain circumstances and cycles that are beyond your control, that you had to kind of be a play piece, like a pawn player of God, of Spirit, to be able to place in the pathway of certain people, to give them the opportunity. And sometimes it may feel like you've been left there, like you've been forgotten by the, ooh, is that a hair? I'm sorry, you guys, I'm sitting on the floor. But it may feel like you've been left by the divine at times and forgotten. But what Spirit is trying to tell us is that they had to give these people the opportunity. They had to give them the time to really, make or break themselves with this test. They had to have time to be able to think about it, repent in a sense, and come to you and do the right thing. But a lot of these people, unfortunately, I feel like with this what goes around comes around, you're going to be shown in the near future. First of all, Spirit's saying it pays to be optimistic. That's what I'm feeling with the sunflower energy. But I think that you're going to be seeing how balance is restored in the situation with moon influence. I think that there's unknown factors that are coming to the surface right now. And this ocean release is a cleansing that's occurring in your life. If you take the metaphorical story of, Noah's Ark, a lot of people thought Noah was crazy until it started to rain, right? A lot of people accused him of wasting his time and being ridiculous and feeding into a fantasy until it started to rain. And at that point, it was too late. And so this flood came through to cleanse the earth, and the rainbow came to indicate that a new beginning was here, restoration would be here, and life would be restored, and never again would that cleansing have to take place. And so in that form anyways. And so I feel as though what Spirit is trying to relay to you is that you've been through a very difficult time, and I'm not going to make a victim out of you and tell you I'm sorry that it happened, because I know that this was the hand of God on your life. And I'm going to tell you instead that I'm proud of you for being so strong, for persevering through these obstacles, because there were a lot of obstacles. We got mountain here, goals, a lot of people that prioritize their own goals. You see how that shadow is reflected behind the mountain? A lot of people prioritize their own goals over the honoring path. I almost knocked this deck over, and we have the honor over what Spirit was asking for them to do with 7 and intention here. And there's something here about, you see the plants that she's holding? They look a lot like this, whatever those trees are. What is that plant? I don't know, some kind of flower. But I feel like with the sunflower energy too, usually when I see the sunflower, it reminds me that sunflowers turn towards the light, they turn towards the sun. And when there is no sunlight available, they turn towards each other. And I feel like you had these soulmates, these business connections, these friends, these opportunities to collaborate towards success together, because I feel like a lot of you were counted out with Collector of Hearts here. I feel like a lot of you were dismissed when you had a lot to offer, because maybe people only could recognize what you needed from them, or they may have even just made assumptions, right? They might not have even been accurate, but they failed to recognize or to see what it was that you could do for them as well. And that's a lesson. It's a karmic cycle that's coming into play right now that has a lot to do with not judging a book by its cover, not dismissing angels in disguise, not dismissing the words of God when they come through, because sometimes they're not in alignment with the perspective and goals that we had for our own life. And I feel like this is going to be a challenging time for some to learn to overcome that. But, okay, so we got the Eight of Air just came out. If they're able to recognize the lesson for what it is, we also had the Ace of Air came out with that. I feel like they'll be able to free themselves from it. Okay, these are capable individuals that are receiving messages from spirit with the moon here. I know that they're intuitive people. And if they can lay their pride aside, they will hear. Four of Water. They're going to hear what spirit has been trying to offer them in the form of a karmic lesson. If you guys are purging emotions right now, please don't be too hard on yourself and dismiss yourself as being mentally unwell. 10 of Cups came out in reverse. I feel like a lot of you are feeling really dissatisfied about this, but it is an emotional cleansing. It is an emotional purging that's happening, and spirit is saying that it needs to be released, and once it's released, that's when this new growth can start to occur. I'm seeing a flood in like a farmland, and once the water dies down, these little green buds start to come up. We have the Carousel came out. We got 7 here again. We got 7 with the intention, 7 in Carousel. Okay. So like I said, even if something is difficult, even if something is feeling heavy right now, God is at work. There's karmic cycles taking place here. I'm hearing that song by Bruno Mars where he's like, don't believe me, just watch. Okay. So we have the Six of Fire. He says something about being hotter than a dragon, right? And then the Six of Fire came out. And so this is success. This is fire energy. It's recognition. I'm feeling a lot of prestige. There could be a promotion coming in for some of you. Can you get clarity on this Jar of Hearts or whatever this, what does it say? Keeper of Hearts? Collector of Hearts. Can I get some clarity on this Collector of Hearts, please? Thank you. My cards are all messed up. Hold on. Okay, so the card that came out is the Page of Air. A lot of people have been gossiping. A lot of people have been watching you from afar. And some people may even be trying to take credit for things that you've accomplished. And nothing has gone unseen here. Everything Spirit is keeping track of. And they want you to know that. Okay. What can you tell us here? Anything else? I want to find out actually about the outcome. So let's find out about the outcome of this, of the coming days and these energies resolving. What can you tell us here? All right, so we have making a choice. Some of you are going to be making a very important choice. This could be walking away for some of you. Others, this could be buckling down when certain energies are trying to push you out of where it is that you belong. And you're only going to fail if you give up and if you start to internalize failure. If you feel like you've been making mistakes, if you feel like you made a poor choice somewhere along the way, release that. There are no mistakes. You're exactly where you're meant to be. All of the choices that you're making are in alignment with your learning experience, and it's preparing you for mastery is what I'm hearing. So never let success go to your head. Never let failure go to your heart, and just keep going. Keep moving forward. Okay? We have community here. It did come out in the reverse, but when I flipped it over, when I looked at it, it was in the upright again. So I feel like if you have been going through, I heard a faulty community, this is meant to help you build your talent, to focus on your craft, to get better at what it is that you're doing. And sometimes it can come through in the form of bullying or feeling rejected, that we level up, that we seek out ways to improve. And it's not the most beneficial. I will admit that at times there's trauma that can overshadow the progress that you're able to make from that kind of fuel, from that kind of motivation. But spirit is your biggest advocate here with these spirit mentors and teachers. You're somebody that was meant to see the darker aspects of people, to be able to be let down and disappointed time and time again, so that you finally turn to a spiritual means of understanding how to find that internal compass, how to listen to that guidance, and understanding that it came from within. It came from these teachers, ascended masters, and from God being able to communicate to you in all the phases of your life, whether it was through art, through music, through writing, through tarot, right? Whatever it is that spirit found a way to reach you, if you retrace your steps back far enough, I'm sure you can find an antagonistic character in your story that led you there. Again, we got this teacher here. It looks like the same, but older, right? Like this guy looks like the same guy almost, but a little bit older, a little bit wiser. He's seen some things, but then he's able to teach this new soulmate that he has coming in to be able to guide them. Some of you, I'm hearing that you're quite literally training to be spirit guides. And so this could be something that if you have like a spirit team, you guys could be traveling through lifetimes, multiple lifetimes, like you're their spirit guide and then vice versa. And this is why they have so much faith in you. This is why they have so much trust in you, and why they're never going to leave your side, even when you get upset with them and you give them the silent treatment. Or I've literally known people that I love very much that will cuss out their spirit guides. I'm not gonna lie, it does not work out well for them. But we get to this point sometimes where we have conscious steps. We get to this point sometimes, and then we have community or group and kinship, where we take our aggression, we take our resentments out on God, we take it out on spirit. We can start to really get exhausted with the constant battles, with the constant, I heard monitoring. There could be monitoring spirits around you with this, I mean, orbs. Typically when I see orbs, I think angelic ancestors, friends that have passed, things like that. But that's interesting that I heard monitoring. It could be too that if you're somebody who's karmically placed in the pathways of certain communities to be able to, one, create change, it feels like havoc, it feels like upset, it feels like you walk in the door and things have to change. I can give you an example. So I started working for a company one time, and they were breaking laws that were going to result in massive lawsuits. And these lawsuits were something that were not going to be covered by insurance. And I knew this from being in my professional career. And when I brought this to the attention of the owners, I'm like, hey, if any of these employees get upset and they decide to turn it around on the company, it will financially ruin you. Because I was working on their books and I can see it. And yeah, so we had that conversation. Some of the upper management team had a real issue with the change being implemented, even though it was meant to protect the company, even though it was meant to protect their literal livelihood, because if the company goes under, their paycheck is going to bounce. So I, come in and disrupt this whole organization, but in a way that's meant to aid in their longevity. Right? Did I make enemies in doing that? Absolutely. Absolutely. Was I right though? Yes, I was right. And they did get sued, actually. But for another reason. So it all comes out in the wash. Spirit is saying, we have milestone here. It was in reverse. I feel like if you're not able to see how you're being utilized in certain situations that feel like conflict and upheaval, but it's actually you restoring balance and order in the long term, because there are certain painful lessons, tower moments, upheavals that need to occur with the other players involved for them to be able to see why that had to happen. And some people, like I said, they can never get to that point where they're able to see why it was a benefit, why God would step in the first place. And it's their loss, honestly. We have new supportive connections came out in reverse with this joyous fun. And you notice how she's painting. So I feel like I am feeling like the guy in the hat is a spirit guide. And so it could be that you're able to alchemize some of this energy to create fun from it by being creative with it, whether that's pouring it into a hobby or an expression of yourself. Whether it's you being like, you know what, I'm finally laying this energy to rest. These people don't matter because I actually do have so much in my life to be grateful for. And reverting your focus onto that, because it's something that Spirit has been sharing with me in the recent days too, is, you know, sometimes we perceive that other people are ahead of us. Sometimes we think that other people are getting certain rewards and recognition. Remember that 6 of Wands. But only to find out that we actually have so much more going on in our life, that if we were to step back and to really look at the different areas, right? One person may be excelling in finances while another person is excelling romantically, and another person might be excelling in the area of raising children, and we're all at different phases in our life, right? And to take our merit or to weigh our value solely on only one part of our ego, that's where we get into these very dangerous territory of experiencing an ego death, because Spirit will come in, God will come in and create tower moments in our life that allows us to learn with this Page of Swords and to reflect on things from another perspective, right? And so I feel like this is the cycle that you're in right now. It's the cycle that you're coming into to lay some of these repeating patterns to rest, because when I see the Ferris wheel, that's often what I think of too. Ferris wheel and carousel, which you guys had both somewhere in your reading. So something about rides. I picked up on Disneyland yesterday in your guys' reading, and that globe thing in Florida, and I looked it up because I've never been there. And that globe is a time machine ride. I didn't know that. I've been channeling time machine and time travel for my last several readings, and I feel like it's such a mystery. And I love when Spirit speaks, because I feel like it's almost like a movie where I'm like, what's going to happen next? And I just can't wait to find out. But the cards in my hand, you guys, we have prosperity. I've always wanted to go to Disney World because I need to see Cinderella's castle. Have you guys been there? Is it beautiful? Let me know. But we have abundance and success, prosperity, and then we have the animal totems here. Animal energy and powers. I'm picking up on Disney princess vibes, like we got the bird here on the bottom of the deck. There's good energy coming in to balance out the scales. Does that make sense? And I think it has a lot to do with you working with animals in some way. I don't know if you read the energetic frequencies of animals or, and you know, use them as omens, shamanic readings, or if you are here to benefit from animal medicine and teach others about that. What can you tell me about this animal energy? We have fertile creation, and she's holding an egg. Could work with chickens. I think you're meant to start something new, maybe a benefit, something that benefits animals. Prim and proper. So you guys are correcting something. It could be an interpretation of how people view a certain animal. It could be you're teaching your children a new way of how to treat the planet and the animals that interact with it. Maybe you're starting to see yourself as a creature of this planet. Let's see. And you're starting to approach life as a creature of nature. Instead of trying to go with the flow of humans, you're starting to try to go with the flow of nature a little bit more. We have Not For You came out. Didn't I say something about being a pawn? Being a player? I didn't want to say being a pawn, but that's what came out. Maybe you're a bishop. Maybe you're a queen. Okay, I don't know what player you are, but there is something about the chessboard here. Ooh, and then we have timeout, number 37, which is a 10. Spirit wants you to take a time out as this karmic cycle is coming to completion, and I think that you're going to be seeing a lot of people, because I'm starting to hear screams, not the good kind of screams. I'm starting to hear people calling out for help, and I think that it has a lot to do. I think it has a lot to do with them misunderstanding certain cycles, and they're going to have to make peace with their higher power through some of these lessons. It's not anything, yeah, we got ascended masters here. For some, it's meant to bring them closer to Jesus. I'm not even gonna lie, because those are the messages that I've been getting lately, because he is a spiritual teacher we have here. And if you guys don't resonate with that, you know, take it however it applies, but I have to speak how Spirit is communicating to me. We have communication, number 33. Because, you know, the Spirit has been talking to me a lot about getting past the limitations that I hold in my spiritual beliefs and being able to see things beyond what I think is true. And it's brought a lot of expansion into my life, a lot of expansion into my awareness. And through heavy betrayals and upsets and the connections around me, the communication I received from people that were supposed to be divine counterparts, soulmates, and friends, right? My soul tribe. I was only able to reconcile that energy and lay it to rest and come to some kind of feeling of forgiveness, not only for myself, and understanding, again, there are no mistakes or failures, but also that forgiveness that I have with God. And I have not gotten an apology from a lot of the closest people to me that disappointed me on my recent journey. And I probably never will. But what I did receive recently was an apology from God. The voice came through and said that it was very sorry. It was painful to watch me go through that and to have to expose me to those things, but that it was necessary. And I can't express to you the emotional purging that took place when that happened, what I was able to lay to rest, and the forgiveness I was able to have over my situation and my circumstance, and to actually see beauty in a lot of the suffering. And that is overcoming shadows. That is overcoming because if you think about it, with death being the shadow of creation, it is required for us to come to this completion. And at times, it's what's required to bring us closer to our higher power and to what we resonate with as truth. And if that means that we had to be let down and disappointed by man again and again and again, to be able to come closer and to have that faith in God, because honestly, we just don't have any other choice. Where are we going? Nowhere. So we'll sit here in this time out and we will think about, at the end of all of this, when it's all said and done, we have no other choice but to remain faithful, because we're going to be here. We're going to wake up each day that it's in God's will that we do so, and we're going to have no choice but to choose faith. Because the alternative is to choose fear. The alternative is to choose anger. The alternative is to stay stuck and stagnant. And to rely on the communication of the souls around you? No, I don't think so. Go within. Closing advice, please. Any closing advice for us? Okay, Treasure Island tried to come out, but it didn't. So I'm going to keep going. Any closing advice? Thank you. Okay, so we have Go the Distance, and it came out in reverse, and so you don't feel like you can go the distance. You're feeling like you're running out of stamina, and Spirit is saying, go ahead and ask God for perseverance. Go ahead and ask God for that strength to keep going. You would be amazed. One time I had to ask for strength and perseverance to keep going physically, because I was in the woods. I felt like I was in a dangerous situation, and at the time I was still walking with a walker. I probably still would if I went to the woods today. I would take my walker and my husband was like, sit down and rest. And I was like, I can't. I have to keep going. And I remember I prayed. And I prayed for the strength to keep going, and I got it. It was a physical rush of energy that I can't explain outside of it was my angels helping me get to where I need to be to feel safe. And so if you need that, we got message in a bottle. Reach out, because Spirit is listening. Okay. And I feel like there's one more card, so what else, Spirit? Thank you. There's a whole message here. If you look at the cards that are on top of this deck, we got forgiveness and understanding, for uncontrolled feelings, currents of emotion. Okay. And again, this is like that flood energy. This is literally a flood. Allow the flood to come through and cleanse. The people that are meant to fall away are going to fall away. The people that are going to go through upheaval, they're going to go through upheaval. And it's, again, something that you can't control. And so remaining emotionally invested in it is not going to benefit you. We have Dragon's Lair, and I know there was a dragon in this card here, Collector of Hearts. They have some dragons to slay here. Okay, I'm hearing Sugar Boom Boom, which is a song that he talks about his journey with drug abuse and how the devil was able to reach him in his moment of weakness in the form of an attractive partner. Not everybody that we come into contact with is there for our benefit, and to know that there are some dragons that are put in our path only so that we're strong enough to slay them. And we have, hello, gorgeous. Don't allow anybody else's dragons to diminish your beauty. You know what else is I'm picking up on? I saw something yesterday that said, men can make you ugly. And I watched the video, and she was talking about how, first, she went into relations and how DNA can affect your physical appearance and your physical health, which I thought was interesting. But then she went into further elaboration on how when you're constantly frowning because you're upset, like if you're in an abusive or toxic household or work environment, the muscles in your face are going to shift in a way over time that physically alters your look of, and you can look back on like past photos and see your face physically transform depending on the situation that you're in that time period of your life. And I actually was looking at a picture of myself because I was looking at looking for a photo of my dog from, it was probably, 15 years ago was when this photo was taken, and I refused to post it or share it because I look so different, but in a bad way. And the fact that I was 15 years younger, I was going through so much turmoil in that period of my life in my romantic relationship, and I was just so stressed out. And you know what? I was smoking cigarettes at the time, and just probably living a much more unhealthy lifestyle than I am right now. Even though I'm very sick right now, I feel like I still look younger. I still look better than I did 15 years ago. So it's not a matter of age. It's not a matter of time. And if you are worried, if you are somebody that's wondering if the best time of your life has already passed, it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with happiness. It has everything to do with our stress levels. And if there's certain individuals around you that are not allowing you to feel welcome, to feel valued, okay, that's not a reflection of you. Spirit is wanting for me to remind you that as you release these emotions and you purge these situations and cycles from your auric field, it's going to translate into your physical appearance. And so don't despair, okay? Also, I don't know if you guys know this, but I use my spirit guides, and I will ask the Holy Spirit. I have no problem asking the angels what kind of makeup I should buy, or like what outfit I would feel best in. And the Holy Spirit helps me pick out my clothes when I get dressed in the day. They help me pick out my makeup. And I don't think it's something that they feel is an imposition, because like I said, you guys have been through multiple lifetimes, multiple cycles together, and it's like you were there for them, and they know that you need this loyalty in your life right now because you haven't been able to get it here on earth. You've been navigating this reality on your own for so long. And so spirit will always find a way to restore balance in one way or another. And I think that you're finding gratitude for that. I think that you're finally starting to feel less alone because God has your back. Spirit has your back. And at the end of the day, if nobody wants to be your friend, you still have spirit there like, girl, don't get that lipstick shade. You would look so much better in this one. Okay. And I'm not going to lie. Spirit has recommended products to me, especially with my allergies, and I had to relearn everything and replace everything. Spirit has shown me some products that really helped with like overcoming certain skin issues I'm having and the aging process and things like that. And so just keep that in mind. Okay, we have commitment here. Spirit is committed to you. God is committed to you. And they're asking that you show them that commitment in return. That's something that has been coming through heavily, is God is asking you for that commitment. And that means that requires, we got Ascended Masters again here. And there's that third 7. That requires you having faith and trust in the process. Do you believe that God has an infallible plan or not? And there are going to be times where you're not going to be able to see the physical manifestation of that in this reality, and that is quite literally the meaning of faith. Okay. I hope that this is helpful today. If it is, if you guys could please like this video. I would love it if people could see the content that I'm making. We have Into the Unknown here. There's a 7 again. When you see 7s, know that God is by your side, even if it doesn't feel that way, even if it feels scary, even if it feels like you've been losing and no new has been coming in, and you can't understand why everybody's like, oh, it's okay to release because then the new will come in, because it's felt like a long period of time has passed and that hasn't happened. But God is about to unveil with these curtains here. God is about to show you why you had to go through all of the things that you had to go through. She's got a feather in her hat. Some of the most devastating situations in my life, when I turned to God and I said, why is this happening? All they would say is 777. And when God says 777, it means you don't need to know why, but all you need to know is that I got this. And in the end, when you look back at all of the things that happened, you're going to feel like you've won the jackpot. There's a rainbow behind her. You're going to feel like you've won the jackpot, and it's not because everything that happened to you was okay. It's not because everything that happened to you didn't cause trauma and setbacks and hinder you more than it was productive. That's not true at all. It's on the contrary. But the reason why you're going to feel like you've won the jackpot is because God is going to prove to you how much you truly are loved, how much God is going to make sure that things heal and restore that balance, restore that light where there's been darkness and I heard hunger for so long. Take care.